Margaret Reeves set her handbag on the hall table, already certain something in the house had shifted. The parlor looked as it always did, except the family Bible was gone from its lace doily.
Patrick, come here now.
It's probably just been moved for dusting, Mom.
That Bible has never been moved in 40 years. Where is it really?
I told you, probably the cleaning lady. Don't make a federal case out of it.
I haven't hired a cleaner in 6 months, Patrick. You know that perfectly well.
Margaret, it's Evelyn Harlow. I thought you should know. I saw your grandmother's Bible in the window of that pawn shop on Cedar Street.
Thank you, Evelyn. I will handle it.
When she turned back toward the kitchen, the house was silent. Patrick had already slipped out the back door. The pawn shop on Cedar Street had not changed in decades, but the Bible in its window made the sight unbearable. There it was, the cracked leather cover, the faded gold lettering that her grandmother's hands had held. She pushed open the door, a small bell announcing her arrival.
That Bible in the window, how much do you want for it?
$40. It's an old piece, brought in just a few days ago.
She placed two $20 bills on the counter, and the pawnbroker slid the heavy book toward her.
You know who sold it? A man, mid-40s, said it was his grandmother's.
Margaret nodded, her jaw tight, and lifted the Bible off the counter. She stepped back onto the sidewalk. The Bible clutched against her chest, its weight a strange comfort. The drive home was silent. She glanced at the Bible beside her, the betrayal still raw. Inside the parlor, Margaret set the Bible on its familiar lace doily, but the book felt wrong in her hands. The leather binding had warped over the decades, but tonight, a section of the spine seemed unusually stiff.
That wasn't there before. What is grandmother hiding?
Gently, she worked her fingers into the tight crevice between the pages of Leviticus. A yellowed envelope emerged, sealed with wax, the paper brittle with age. In faded ink across the front. October 1962, to be opened by the firstborn granddaughter who still possesses this Bible at age 70.
Grandmother wrote this for me, and I turned 72 2 years ago.
The weight of the secret pressed against her palm, the seal still unbroken.
After all these years, what could possibly be inside?
For a long moment, she simply stared at her grandmother's handwriting, half afraid of what she might find. Margaret slid a letter opener under the brittle seal, the wax crumbling with a soft crack. Inside lay a single folded sheet of thick stationery, embossed with a notary stamp and her grandmother's confident script. This is an addendum to the 1958 Reeves Family Trust. I, Eleanor Reeves, assign a 12% undivided interest in Reeves Regional Gas and Utility to my firstborn granddaughter, provided she still possesses the 1894 family Bible on her 70th birthday. The stake shall then transfer to her in full, with all accrued dividends.
12%. The company great-grandfather founded. It's been right under my nose all along.
Her hands began to tremble as the math settled. She had turned 72 2 years ago. The condition was satisfied.
Grandmother always said this Bible held more than prayers. She wasn't being poetic.
She set the notarized addendum beside the open Bible, the two objects now impossibly connected.
Patrick stole a Bible, worth $40 to a pawnbroker. He never knew it was worth 40 years of hidden inheritance.
For the first time since the betrayal, a cold, quiet steel settled behind her eyes. She read the addendum again, each word now burning with possibility. She opened her laptop and searched for Reeves Regional Gas and Utility. On the company website, the executive team page flashed onto the screen. Patrick Reeves, Regional Vice President, listed beneath the CEO.
He's been lying to my face while sitting under the company I now partly own. Mr. Ellsworth, this is Margaret Reeves. I need to see you urgently.
Of course, Margaret. I have an opening tomorrow at 10. Is it about the estate?
Something like that. I'll bring a document you'll want to see.
She hung up and placed the letter next to Patrick's business card. Same company logo embossed on both. The appointment was set. For the first time, the old Bible and the new betrayal sat on the same table, waiting. The next morning, Margaret entered the law office of Ellsworth and Son, the addendum folded in her purse, Mr. Ellsworth. Silver-haired and precise, adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and took the yellowed paper. He unfolded it slowly, eyes narrowing at the notary stamp and the elegant script of Eleanor Reeves.
This seal is my father's. He drew up the original Reeves Trust in 1958. I didn't know this addendum existed.
I found it hidden in the binding of the family Bible, the one my grandmother carried west in 1894.
The Bible itself is the condition. The shares pass only if you possess that book at 70. How old are you now?
72. I turned 72 2 years ago.
He traced the notary stamp, memory working behind his careful expression.
The mathematics appear correct, but I must confirm with the trust administrator. Give me until tomorrow.
Margaret stood, leaving the document in his care. As she walked out, the Bible's secret now waited in that leather-bound office. Mr. Ellsworth spent the afternoon verifying every seal and signature with the trust administrator. His call came just after 5. Margaret lifted the receiver, her hand steady.
Margaret, the addendum is authentic. The 12% stake is yours.
It's real. Every word grandmother wrote.
At current valuation, the shares are worth about $1.4 million.
1.4 million. And he took it for $40.
Dividends have been accumulating since the day you turned 70. That sum is also yours.
She thanked him and set the phone down, the certificate now in her hand, the kitchen quiet around her. She opened the refrigerator and looked at the Sunday roast she had bought for the week. A slow, hard smile crossed her face. Sunday dinner would be something Patrick never forgot. Before Patrick could invent another excuse, Margaret dialed his cell phone and sat very still.
Mom, is everything okay?
Perfectly fine. I want you here for Sunday dinner. Just you and me?
This weekend? I am pretty swamped at work. Can we do it another time?
No, Patrick. Sunday will be the only time I am roasting a prime rib.
After a long pause, Patrick muttered his agreement and hung up. He knew something had shifted. The next morning, she returned to the pawn shop and placed a printed statement before the pawnbroker.
You want me to sign something, saying a man pawned his own grandmother's Bible? Lot of trouble for $40.
I'll pay you another 20 for a notarized description of the man who sold it to you.
He signed the statement, and she tucked it into her purse. By noon, the Bible waited on her dining table, the pawn ticket folded beside it. Sunday morning arrived with thin winter light, and the scent of rosemary drifting from the oven. She slid the notarized pawn ticket into the sideboard drawer, next to the silverware.
Everything is in its place. The Bible will speak for itself tonight.
She smoothed her cream blouse and straightened her pearl necklace in the hall mirror. At exactly 6 o'clock, the doorbell rang. She opened the door. Patrick stood under the porch light, his tie loosened, a 2-liter soda bottle in his hand.
Sorry, I am late. The office was chaos this week.
She stepped back and gestured him inside. Patrick hesitated, then walked past her toward the dining room. The moment his eyes landed on the Bible, standing in the center of the table, his hand froze midair.
Come in, Patrick. The roast is excellent tonight.
They took their seats, the Bible standing between them, like a third guest. Margaret poured the wine, the red liquid catching the candlelight.
How is work, Patrick? Reeves, gas, and utility keeping you busy?
His fork scraped the plate. The question had landed.
It's fine. Same as always. Lots of meetings. Nothing you'd find interesting.
I imagine a regional VP has a great deal on his plate.
The roast was tender, but Patrick chewed each bite like it was dry paper, his eyes never leaving the Bible.
Mom, why is the Bible on the table? It's been in the parlor my whole life.
I moved it. I thought tonight it belonged here.
His knuckles whitened around the stem of his wine glass as he waited for the other shoe to drop.
Patrick, look at this Bible. Where do you think I found it?
Patrick's eyes darted toward the book, then skittered away from it.
I don't know, Mom. Someone must have put it back. The cleaning lady, maybe.
Without a word, she reached into the sideboard drawer and withdrew a yellow pawn ticket. His face lost its color as she set the ticket beside his plate.
I bought this Bible back from the pawn shop on Cedar Street. For $40.
That ticket could be from years ago. Anyone could have pawned it.
And here is a notarized statement from the pawnbroker. He remembers the man who sold it to him.
The document described a man in his mid-40s, dark hair, nervous manner. Patrick's own name was printed in the margin, the seller of record. He opened his mouth, but no excuse came. The Bible had brought its witness to the table.
All right, I took it. I had some debts and I needed cash fast. I didn't think you'd notice right away.
Margaret said nothing. Her silence filled the room heavier than any accusation.
I was going to get it back. The broker said I could reclaim it any time within 60 days.
Still, she did not answer. Instead, she reached across the table and pulled the Bible toward her. She opened it to the book of Leviticus, the spine crackling with age. Her finger traced the inner binding where the paper had been pressed flat for decades.
There was something else tucked inside this Bible, Patrick. Something you never saw when you took it.
Patrick leaned forward, his eyes narrowing at the exposed binding. The space was empty now, just a memory of something hidden. Margaret's hand remained there, as if guarding a secret Patrick had never known existed. Margaret reached into her cardigan and withdrew the yellowed envelope. She set it on the open Bible, directly over the binding that had hidden it. Patrick stared at the handwritten date, October 1962, and the broad, authoritative script of Eleanor Reeves.
What is this? Some old letter from grandmother.
It's an addendum to the Reeves Family Trust, a document my grandmother sealed inside this Bible before you were born.
He unfolded the notarized paper, his eyes scanning the legal language.
It grants a 12% stake in the family gas utility to the firstborn granddaughter, who still possessed this Bible at age 70. I turned 72, 2 years ago. While you were busy with your meetings, the condition was satisfied.
The paper shook in his hands as the numbers began to take shape.
12%? But that can't be legal. It's been decades. It's been decades.
Margaret did not answer. She simply closed the Bible over the envelope, her hand resting on the worn cover. She lifted her hand from the Bible and met his eyes without blinking.
The trust's stake is in Reeves Regional Gas and Utility, the same company where you are a regional vice president.
Patrick's eyes bulged. He sat back as if struck.
My attorney confirmed it yesterday. The shares are worth $1.4 million.
His hands clawed at the tablecloth, the fine linen bunching under his fingers.
The dividends have been accumulating since I turned 70. All of it belongs to me now.
Mom, I didn't. I had no idea. I was just trying to get by.
You were trying to get by, and I recovered $40 of betrayal and found a lifetime of legacy.
He opened his mouth, but no words came. He shoved his plate away, the roast forgotten. The dining room fell silent except for the whisper of the dying candles.
The dividends have been backdated to the day I turned 70. I've already spoken to the trust administrator.
Patrick's breathing grew shallow. He stared at the Bible as if it had become a weapon.
I'll be at the next shareholder meeting. I intend to cast my votes.
Votes? Mom, you can't just walk in there and start throwing weight around.
I own 12% of that company. I have every right.
She's going to humiliate me in front of the entire board.
He pushed back from the table, his chair scraping the hardwood floor.
You are doing this to punish me. I made a mistake. Don't ruin me.
I am not ruining you, Patrick. I am simply claiming what is mine.
He stood frozen, the candlelight carving deep lines into his face. The roast sat cold between them.
Please, Mom, don't do this. I'll lose everything. My job, my reputation.
You should have thought of that before you pawned this Bible.
You never understood me. You've been holding on to that book like it's more important than your own son.
I held on to what your grandmother carried across the plains. You held on to a pawn ticket.
Patrick grabbed his coat from the back of the chair, his movements violent and jerky.
Fine. You win. Enjoy your money and your empty house, Mom.
The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the china in the cabinet. Margaret sat for a long moment, her hand resting on the closed Bible. The empty chair across from her seemed to swallow the candlelight. She began to clear the dishes, her movements slow and deliberate. A woman who had just reclaimed more than a book. 2 weeks passed in quiet preparation. The Bible stood again on its lace doily in the parlor. Then Mr. Ellsworth called with the date and time of the shareholders' meeting.
Your credentials are in order, Margaret. They've accepted the trust addendum without challenge.
Thank you, Mr. Ellsworth. I'll be there.
She hung up and rested her palm on the worn leather cover. That night, she laid out a navy suit and the single strand of pearls her grandmother had worn. She read the addendum one last time, its words no longer a shock, but a promise fulfilled. Tuesday morning broke clear and cold. She dressed with deliberate care. In the hallway mirror, the pearls caught the light, and the Bible waited behind her on the table. She took a deep breath, picked up her leather portfolio, and walked out to the car. The boardroom on the 12th floor was polished oak and coffee. Margaret took her chair, the nameplate reading Margaret Reeves, stakeholder. Patrick entered, saw her, and his reports hit the floor. The room seemed to still.
She actually came. In his own boardroom.
The chairman moved through quarterly numbers, then paused. He announced the recognition of a significant new shareholder. All eyes turned to the silver-haired woman with the pearl necklace. Margaret inclined her head a fraction of an inch. Patrick's knuckles whitened on the armrest. He could feel his colleagues shifting in their seats. Votes were called. Margaret raised her hand for each, her choice as steady as the clock on the wall. When the meeting adjourned, Margaret quietly gathered her notes and rose. She passed her son without a glance, her heels silent on the carpet. Patrick remained seated, staring at the empty nameplate that now felt like an accusation. The parking garage echoed with Margaret's deliberate footsteps. As she approached her sedan, Patrick burst from the stairwell, his tie undone, panic driving his strides to her window. She lowered the glass a few inches, her face unreadable as it had been at Sunday dinner.
You had to come here and humiliate me. Wasn't Sunday night enough?
I came for a shareholder meeting. I didn't say your name once.
Everyone knows. You are my mother. What do you think that does to me?
Perhaps it reminds them who built the company you take for granted.
She paused, the engine idling, as if deciding whether to add a final weight. Then she spoke again.
The roast was excellent, wasn't it?
Then she pulled away, and Patrick stood rooted in the empty space, watching until the taillights disappeared. The Bible on the passenger seat had been watching all along. Twilight was settling over the porch when Margaret pulled into the driveway. The Bible sat on the passenger seat, silent and patient. She carried it inside and placed it back on the lace doily where it had always belonged. Then she unclasped the single strand of pearls from around her neck. She draped the pearls over the worn leather cover, where they settled against the faded gold lettering. The gesture was not for anyone else. It was for her grandmother, and for herself. She poured a cup of chamomile tea and carried it to the porch, the evening breeze cool against her bare neck. Through the parlor window, she could see the Bible wearing her pearls like a crown.
It's exactly where it's supposed to be, and so am I.
The house, so recently a battlefield, was once again quiet and whole. Outside, the last of the sunset painted the sky amber. The Bible and the pearls had reclaimed the room. The Bible that Eleanor Reeves carried across the plains in 1894 had finally completed its journey. It had crossed prairies and generations, outlasted theft and betrayal, and finally come home to a lace doily and a strand of pearls. Inside, the letter from 1962 had waited patiently, a promise from grandmother to granddaughter. Margaret hadn't chased revenge. She had simply dusted off what was already hers. The pearls on its cover were not a decoration, but a quiet testament. Inheritance is not always measured in shares. It is measured in the weight of a book, the ink of a pen, and the steel in a mother's spine. The house was silent, but not empty. The Bible was back, and it would not leave again. A mother's fortune is not in stocks. It is in the quiet steel of knowing, and on that lace doily the Bible rested, wearing her pearls, a guardian for another generation. The camera lingers on the Bible, the pearls and the warm lamplight, nothing more needed. The parlor window glowed amber against the deepening dusk, the silhouette of the Bible sharp on the table. The camera drew back slowly, taking in the empty porch where a cup of tea had cooled. Inside, the pearls still caught a sliver of light, the leather cover dark with age and story. The room was still, save for the settling of the old house's timbers. What had been taken for $40 had returned with $1 million secret and the quiet steel of a woman who refused to break. Margaret's story was not one of vengeance, but of a love that outlasted betrayal. The Bible would remain, a guardian for the next generation, wearing her pearls as a promise. And in the quiet of that old parlor, the legacy of a grandmother's foresight sat patiently, waiting for no one to move it again. The screen holds the image, a window, a book, a strand of pearls, long enough for the weight of it to settle, fade to black.